So our project here is to design a crown for tooth number 30, and as you can see, this is a CAD/CAM preparation in which we have a shoulder all the way around. This is also a super G prep. We don't have any subgingival area. The reduction here on the occlusal is a little bit more aggressive, and hopefully you can notice that this is a flat pulpal floor, so we don't have the anatomical reduction for this preparation. Axial pulpal angles are rounded. Axial gingival angles are rounded. However, we do have a crisp, nice external cable surface margin. So this is a full ceramic crown, and that's the reason why we have a shoulder all the way around. For gold crowns or for PFMs, definitely you need a chamfer somewhere on the lingual or on the buccal, depending on the type of crown you are doing. But for full ceramic crowns, a shoulder is necessary as a finishing line. So this is the model that you have in your kit, and we also have the opposing teeth, and the opposing teeth are regular teeth without any preps, and including these two guys, you can see a proper reduction for the prep. Remember, the minimal clearance you need from both functional and non-functional cusps is about 2 millimeters. Some authors are recommending 1.5 for the non-functional cusps, but here we decide to take a little bit more, and then consequently we have 2 millimeters for both functional and non-functional. So let's now scan these teeth and let's see what the machine can provide us in terms of feedback for our prep. So we just took the images for our case, again tooth number 30, and on the first up right corner here we have the scan for the preparation, and we took about 5 pictures. This is the first picture. Again, remember to put the green crosshair right on the middle of the tooth that you just prepared. The second image overlapping the distal tooth was shaky a little bit here, but that's fine. The Cerec machine was forgiving a little bit. I don't think I got a good breakfast this morning, that's why I was shaking a little bit, but that's fine. As long as you have a good image, you're good to go. The other image on the mesial overlapping the prep, remember always overlap the previous image. And I decided to take more pictures on the anterior teeth once we have anterior teeth. I will explain that later, but once you have more teeth on your model, sometimes it's helpful in order to adjust the occlusion, the anatomy, and all that stuff. So this is the block for the preparation. Let's see now the antagonist. The antagonist is here on the bottom. I took the images for the antagonist, first, second. As you can see here, I was always overlapping. And third image, fourth one, and the final picture. So this is a decent image for the antagonist. And we took 3 images for the buccal scan. So here we go, we have the buccal scan. This is our prepped tooth on the lower, and this is the upper tooth as an antagonist. And remember, for the buccal scan, you have to put the camera on the buccal side on the patients when the patient is biting down, and then you take the image on the buccal. So I decided to take 3 images here because I want to overlap the distal and mesial adjacent teeth, just in order to make sure now I have enough information for the Cerec software to understand this patient's occlusion. Remember, this is one way to register the patient's occlusion. The other way is using the normal bite registration material, the normal pink material that you have, that you use for regular crowns. And instead of taking the buccal scan, you're going to place a bite registration on the prepared tooth, ask the patient to bite in, the patient is going to open the mouth, and you're going to scan the lower model again. So we're going to show you a video how to do that later on. But anyways, we got all the image here, and rotating all the models, I can see that we got very good quality. For this exercise here, because I'm scanning a model, you see some small little defects here on this buccal image. Don't worry, this is normal, and the Cerec software is forgiving. The Cerec software will let you continuing and design your crown without any problems here, and I guarantee you, you won't have problems in terms of occlusion here. In a real patient, you won't have those defects that you can see here on the screen. Okay, so we're going to hit next, and remember, when you hit next, now it's time for the Cerec software to collect all this information, and is trying to matching both upper and lower models based on the buccal scan that we just took the images. And let's see if you can get a very good correlation here between models. If something happened at this point and the Cerec software cannot correlate those models, you might get a message here saying that the Cerec software was not able to correlate properly. If this is the case, my suggestion for you is go back to the patient's mouth and try to take more images. The Cerec is just asking you more information. You can also try to do a manual correlation here, but I strongly suggest you not doing that. If you're doing manual correlation, means something is wrong. Anyways, we got at this point here, we have the lower model with the prepped tooth and the antagonist plus the buccal scan. What you're going to do is you're going to left click on the upper teeth and just bring this model close to the upper 3D model right there. So press the left button and hold, bring closer to the upper model and release the left button. There we go. Now I'm pressing the left button on the lower prepped tooth and bring down to the lower model. Here we go. So we got enough information. The Cerec software was able to understand that both models are matching up. One of the reasons, again, remember I mentioned I took more images, is because I like to have more adjacent teeth available on both my models. So this is providing more information for the Cerec software. Okay. Remember the rule about rubber dam, that is supposed to, the tooth you're working with, you're putting the clamp in the adjacent mesial tooth and isolating at least 2 anterior mesial teeth. If you follow this rule for the Cerec software, this is a very good clinical tip. So try to do the same thing here. For optical impression, at least 1 posterior tooth for distal and 2 anterior teeth for mesial. Anyways, we got to this stage here. I can see the occlusion here for the patient. Remember those small little defects that we got from the buccal scan. Again, don't worry, keep going. This won't interfere in your design for the crown. I can see a very decent occlusion here, and at this point here, my patient is still chair side. I can calculate and I can visualize the clearance I might have for my proper reduction here. So if you don't have about 2 millimeters, go back to your patient's mouth, shave down the tooth a little bit more, and take new images. On the top left corner here, we have this toggle contacts. We are going to click that, and what is happening here is the Cerec software is telling me, okay, I got information that we have contacts everywhere here, some small heavy contacts, but this is the most important thing. I don't get any contacts on the prepped tooth. That means you got enough reduction, there is no contact there, you got clearance, you're good to go, you have a green light. If you want, you can also click in settings and let the Cerec software automatically better adjust the occlusion here for this particular patient. There we go, this is optimal occlusion. And unclick the toggle contacts. We do have now a decent occlusion for this case here. Again, always rotate. I can see I have a proper clearance there. We are good to go. We have about 2 millimeters, and we are going to hit next for the next step. And remember always to take a look in the bottom left side, and the software will tell you what to do. Right now we are trimming in the preparation. We are removing the adjacent teeth. I would suggest you to zoom in, and you can see that our prep here is a very decent prep, is a very decent margin. We are good to go. Be careful in this mesial proximal area because it's too narrow. We don't really have a very good clearance here. We do have enough clearance, but it's not really, you don't have like lots of room here to trim the adjacent model. Trimming, remember, is you're doing exactly the same thing that a lab guy is doing. You're just removing the dye from the model here because they just want to see the prepped tooth without any adjacent teeth. Why we do that? Because you want to make sure later on you can see the proximal, mesial, and distal contact areas and adjust properly those contact areas. So in order to trim, remember, you're going to double left click on one side on the lingual. Now I have a green line here, then a blue line remaining. So I can do whatever I want. I can move to the left, to the right. And remember to keep doing small left clicks in order to save the area that you're just trimming. Be really careful not touching the prep, margins, or the adjacent tooth. The ideal thing here is just to trim right in the middle without touching those surfaces. There we go. I think we did a very good job here. I can still see the margin. I haven't touched the margin there. Nice. Right click. Remember, you can move the image all the way on the screen the way you want. Let's rotate. Distal here is way better because I have room left there, so I have about 2 millimeters probably, so this is gonna be easy. Double left click, bring down. I wish all my clinical cases were like that. Sometimes it's not really like that. Anyways, if you double click here, now I have a ghost image for the prep. Double left click on the prep, and here we go. We have the prep back. Adjacent teeth are gone. We are going to hit next. And now it's time to we are still trimming things here. We're going to trim the opposing teeth. Remember, some authors, they suggest to not trim this step here, just skip and press next. But if you want to just for practice, let's do that. You can see the indentation for the opposing teeth here. I have the first molar and the second bicuspid. So the question is, what is important to keep as a piece of information from my restoration? Well, the answer is, if you can do a trimming that you're including the first molar plus marginal ridge a little bit towards the mesial of the second bicuspid, this would be ideal. So let's try to do that. Double left click anywhere you want inside the tooth area. Remember, I want to include the mesial marginal ridge at least. Once I'm crossing against on the blue line, double left click, and here we go. We just trimmed the opposing teeth, and now we got everything else is gone. This is the important information that I need to adjust my crown. So we are done trimming both the prepped tooth and also the antagonist. I'm going to hit next. And now it's time to enter the preparation margin. Now it's time to enter the preparation margin. Again, always look in the bottom here. And you can see automatic margin finding. What means automatic margin finder again? Means the software can see more or less where is the margin and it can dictate for you the margin automatically. Well, if you don't have a very good prep or the margin is not really crisp and clean, the automatic margin finder might be a problem. So right now I'm gonna draw the margin here for you. I'm gonna show you how to use the automatic margin finder and also the manual margin finder. For instance, let's take a look in this prep here. I think on the buccal here I have a very decent margin. I can see everything. Even if you rotate the tooth, you can see the shadow there. I see it's clear for me that the margin is right here. The same thing on the distal here, probably because I had more room with the adjacent molar. The lingual is pretty decent also, but if you take a look on the mesial here, do you see a small step here in the mesial? I do, and I can see that. So this margin, especially right here, is not that clear for me. So in cases like that, do not use the automatic margin finder. Do by yourself. Switch for manual mode. I will teach you how to do that, and draw the margin the way you want. Now, clinically speaking, if you have a question here, where exactly is the margin, or if the image is not that clear, go back to your patient's mouth and take a look again. This is really helpful. It's a very good clinical tip. Remember, your patient is still waiting for you in your chair, is frozen. You can easily go back and take a look in any part of the tooth that you want. So, again, let's draw the margin here. Automatic margin finder is on. Double left click anywhere you want. I'm going to start here on the buccal. And here we go. Again, because I mentioned before, this margin is really clear. You can see that the software, I'm just rotating my mouse here. Pretty much I'm not touching anything. I'm not really doing any left click here. But the margin is so good that the software can easily see where is the margin. When you reach the half of the tooth, you might get a problem because the software, you might get confused if this is the left or the right side, like this one here. So what you have to do at this point here is just press the left button once. Oops, ended up going to the wrong way. Now, once I press the left button, as you can see, what you have in blue here is already saved. And then I just keep going towards the lingual. Another left button. There we go. Now we have reached the mesial margin. Remember I mentioned was not really clear. I don't want to just give a shot and see what the Cerec software can do. What I'm doing now, I'm pressing the space bar. And I'm switching to the manual mode. And you can see here, enter preparation margin drawn. That means now on manual mode, you need to keep working on the left clicks. But at least I'm pretty much doing whatever I want in terms of margin. If I want to put my margin here, I can do that. Because again, you are in on manual mode. If you click on the right button, you go back one step. So I'm just going back here. Small left clicks or quick left clicks. There we go. I have passed that area that it was not really clear for me. Press the space bar again, you are back to automatic margin finder. I still don't think that mesial area was clear. That's okay, just keep going, because later on we have a ways to rotate the tooth and adjust the margin. Double left click and now the margin is ready. What is the next thing to do now? Rotate the tooth. You're right, let's rotate the tooth and let's take a look in this margin here, make sure the margin is okay. I had a small little defect on my prep there, but not a problem. Here we go. This is the first spot I'm not really happy with. What I'm going to do, I'm going to fix this margin. Double left click on one side. Double left click on the other side. I'm almost creating like a small bridge. Remember I mentioned about the mesial margin? Here we go. The best way to fix that is rotating the tooth and fix the margin. Double left click. Double left click. And let's keep going. Double left click. Ideally, I would suggest you to do this thing here about maximum of 1 inch, because the tooth, we have a curvature here, so you don't want to exaggerate this bridge that you are fixing the margin. So about 1 inch you're going to double left click again. Still have a small little defect here. That's why it's so important to rotate the tooth. Yeah, so you can see that you have a small little optical problem here on the mesial. This is a case that I would go back, fix the prep, and take new images. Why? Because this particular point here, spot, is not really clear for me. Do not hesitate. Go back, fix the prep, take new image. We won't have time here because this is just a demo. We don't really have a patient here, so I consider that that margin is okay. But I'm just showing you, I'm just pointing you problems that you have to fix before conclude the margin drawing. So I'm going to rotate the tooth, make sure that my margin is okay, it's the way I want and the place I want. You can do small adjustments like that. And here we go. We have our tooth ready to go, and design the margin is pretty much done. If you hit here the occlusal button, so you have a decent occlusal image and I can see all the margin. I think you're ready to go to the next step.